Well, that's always the exciting part of a baby, is looking for the equipment for the nursery, looking at the different plans, cots, and all sorts available.
By the 36th week of your pregnancy, you will be slowing down your routines and start preparing for the birth. Now is the time to check that everything is ready for the new arrival and to prepare yourself and your partner for the birth. There are many things you can do to make life easier for you after the baby is born. Cut down on non-essential chores. If you have a freezer, stock it with the stable foods that freeze well. And instead of expensive nursery equipment, rather spend your money on labour-saving devices such as an automatic washing machine or tumble dryer. You may be confused by the seemingly endless variety of baby goods advertised, but think carefully before you buy, as there are many unnecessary commodities on the market. A good idea is to watch your local newspapers for second-hand bargains. In the early weeks, a pram top, carry cot or noses basket will keep your baby warmer than a standard cot. These should be light and durable and could also be used to transport your baby in a car. Remember that carry cot should always be secured to the car seat by means of safety straps. By the time the baby can sit up, it will be essential to have a sturdy drop-side cot. There are various models available, including units which incorporate a compactor. You will need a well-fitting cot mattress with a waterproof cover, some cot sheets, and a couple of lightweight blankets. Don't give your baby a pillow to sleep on, as there is a danger of suffocation. Keep pillows just for propping your baby into a sitting position during the day, and only under supervision. Prams are usually considered essential, but they may be expensive. You should do a lot of research before you buy. Ensure that it is stable and that the brakes are reliable, and look for strong construction and ease of handling. This also applies to 3-in-1 combinations that can be used as a pram, a carry cot, and a pushchair. In addition, pushchairs should be fitted with a safety harness and should have enough headroom for growing when the canopy is attached. A changing area for your baby is considered essential. Some mothers like to buy a special changing table that incorporates a bath as well as drawers for baby clothes and accessories. You could also use a conventional padded changing mat or cover a tabletop in foam and a layer of plastic sheeting. A baby bath is not essential, since a bathroom basin or a large washing up bowl will also do. If you want to buy a baby bath, you will need a bath stand or a firm surface to stand it on. You will need to include a container for baby's toiletries, a cupboard for clothes, a laundry bin, an easy chair for feeding, and a large bag for carrying baby goodies on outings. If you intend using cloth nappies, you will also need nappy buckets with well-fitting lids. A good car seat is essential, especially for an older baby, but even young babies are not always content to sleep in a carry cot in the back of the car. At times they would much prefer to sit up and see what's going on around them. Several designs of car seats are available on the market, which cater for babies from birth to toddlers of about 5 years old. Make sure that you buy a good quality, comfortable seat with a washable cover. It is probably better to buy as little clothing as possible before the baby is born. Presents often make up the balance of the layette. Besides, each mother develops her own preferences. You could start with about 6 stretch suits, 2 night dresses, 4 vests, a few cardigans or jumpers, a few cotton knit tops with leggings, some booties and baby socks, a few bibs, and a bonnet. If you're going to use cloth nappies, buy at least 2 dozen good quality nappies, plus nappy liners, and about 6 waterproof pants. If you're opting for disposable nappies, you should stock up well in advance. Disposable nappies are especially recommended for the first few months, when convenience takes top priority. You'll also need a shawl, wrapping blankets, and 2 soft new towels.
It just prepares you a lot better, I think. So at least you go into these things with your eyes open, because they prepare you for all the eventualities that could happen. Antenatal classes is to educate the couple for childbirth and for parenthood.
I went to a private antenatal class, and the sisters that ran it were particularly helpful. They had sessions on Caesars, on what natural birth was like, what was happening every step of the way, what you could expect, what to do to make it easier. But most of it involved the husband. And nowadays that's very important. I think the days of husbands not being involved in the birth are over. My husband was there right through the antenatal classes, supporting me while I was pregnant, and knowing what to do if I had a natural birth, he would have known exactly what to do to make it easier for me.
There are many coping skills that we teach expectant mothers for labour, one of them being relaxation. Relaxation is definitely a learned skill. There are many people who think that it's impossible for them to learn how to relax, but with the right kind of education and teaching and practice, they can actually learn to do this. It is something that's not only going to help them in labour, but certainly once they become a new parent. There are different ways to teach people to relax. One involves progressive relaxation, which means that we teach a person to relax from the tip of their head to the tips of their toes, each muscle group one at a time. Then there's the conscious contract and relax sequence, which involves tensing certain muscle groups one at a time and relaxing them so that the person can get the idea of what it feels like, okay, what the difference, how different it feels to be tense and how nice it feels to be relaxed. This is an important skill to learn for labour, because we know that when a mother is tense during labour, there's a certain release of adrenaline as the fight and flight mechanism comes into play, and it can actually slow up the progress of her labour and make her labour that much more difficult to cope with and that much more painful. And after all, that's what we're trying to do, is ease the pain and teach coping skills to deal with that pain.
Several weeks before your baby is due, you should pack your hospital suitcase. This should contain the following basic items: 2 to 3 night dresses opening down the front, 2 to 3 maternity bras, breast pads, dressing gown, slippers, at least 4 pairs of panties, sanitary towels, cosmetics and toiletries, tissues, hair care necessities, reading material, a mirror and cords for the telephone. Most hospitals provide nappies and all the baby's clothes during your stay. The baby will therefore only need clothes to come home with. Pack the following: 1 vest, 2 nappies, 2 baby clothes of different sizes, 1 pair of booties, 1 woolen cap, 1 receiving blanket and a matinee jacket. For yourself, choose something loose-fitting, as you will not be down to your usual size yet. Leave the items needed for you and your baby in a place where your husband can easily find them. You should bring these into hospital the night before you are discharged. Many women find a separate hold-all to accompany them with comfort aids is useful. This could contain a small sponge to moisten your lips, lip salve or Vaseline for dry lips, talcum powder or massage lotion, a hot water bottle to relieve backache, and nourishing snacks and fruit juice if allowed. During the last few weeks of your pregnancy, you may experience conflicting emotions: uncertainty, impatience and excitement. The long-awaited moment is almost a reality when you will hold your baby in your arms for the very first time.
It was the most warm, wonderful feeling in the whole world. I will never forget how she turned when she came out. This time round it was wonderful.
Just felt relief that it was over and we were going to now send you. But I had a very easy birth. I didn't have any pain. People talk to me about the pain that they have with childbirth a lot, because I didn't have any of that.
In some ways, the most incredible day that I've ever experienced.
It started at about 4:45 in the morning. My husband got a call. He was on duty that night, so he needed to give them some information. I couldn't go back to sleep. So I went to the kitchen, which was in a mess, and I was tidying up for an hour. And at that stage, I should have known that here came the baby, because they say when you start tidying up, it's time for the baby to come. And I actually thought I had diarrhea, because I had tummy cramps. And we'd eaten a lot of fruit the night before, so I thought, well, there was nothing unusual.
There are 3 classic warning signs indicating that labour is about to start. The first sign is powerful, regular contractions. If you want to be sure that you're in labour, time the contractions over an hour. If they get closer together and longer in duration, you can feel confident that real labour has started. Be ready to leave the hospital when your contractions come more often than every 5 minutes. Labour could also be indicated by a show, a vaginal discharge of mucus with or without a streak of blood. Throughout pregnancy, this mucus has acted as a plug in the cervix, sealing off the uterus. However, this is not a reliable sign of labour, as it can come out 2 or 3 weeks before you actually go into labour. A third sign of labour is rupturing of the membranes or breaking of the waters. The amount of leakage which occurs will vary. Once the waters have broken, women are generally advised to contact the hospital, since there is a chance of your baby becoming infected. Labour itself can be divided into 3 stages. The first stage is by far the longest, and is measured from the onset of labour to full dilation of the cervix. During this period, the strong muscles in the upper part of the uterus work to open up the neck of the uterus until it is fully dilated and ready for the descent of your baby down the birth canal. Your baby's heart will be constantly monitored, and you will be examined internally from time to time. But there is no reason to remain flat on your back in the first stage of labour. Research has shown that most women prefer to be up and about, and that contractions are stronger and more effective with the woman in an upright position. Besides breathing techniques and relaxation, you could try different positions to ease the pain of contractions. A hot bath or shower may also help, as may a firm back massage.
I got into the water and I propped me up with a pillow and I just sat there. The water, I don't know if it's the warmth or what it is, but it just really makes you sort of relax, and the pain is not so unbearable. And about 5 minutes later on the highway, I told my husband that I thought the hood was coming out. And he said, yeah. And I said, I'm telling you. And he eventually stopped the car and he came on to look and he said, oh, heavens, it is. He said, just breathe, don't push. So we drove with lights flashing and heater going and through traffic lights to the clinic, and he called for the staff to come. And a midwife came running down, but she said she has calls all the time of husbands saying the wives are in final stages of labour, and they certainly aren't, they're just panicking. So she took it very easily, and it was Christmas Day, so she thought this was definitely like an April Fool's joke. And she came down with a clamp and gloves, and when she took a look at me lying in the back seat of the motor car, she just said, push! She didn't put the gloves on, she did nothing. So I pushed and out came my baby. But it was the most warm experience. I just felt her come, and I just felt her turn. How she mentioned, just went out she came. It was like a warm, slithering feeling. I can't tell you what a wonderful experience. And when we giggled for the rest of the day, we just laughed and laughed.
At the end of the first stage, when you are between 8 and 10 centimetres dilated, your baby's head begins to move down into position in the birth canal. This is known as the transition and could be quite hard to cope with. Your contractions follow each other relentlessly, with hardly a pause in between. At the same time, you will feel the need to push, but will be told not to do so since your cervix is not yet ready for the baby to pass through. At this stage, shaking, shivering and nausea are also common. Proper breathing and the unwavering support of your partner is now especially important.
She can get quite nasty. I warn the fathers that she may be quite abusive during that time, and she doesn't mean it, she doesn't know that that's what she's doing.
She wasn't reasonable. Nothing was right. Nothing I said was sensible. It was just totally wrong and idiotic. And I don't know how long we went on for. It seemed to go on for a long time for me. I don't know how long we went on for her.
As soon as the cervix has dilated to 10 centimetres, the second stage of labour starts. This is when the baby is pushed down the birth canal and is characterised by an overpowering urge to bear down. Your pushing will be most effective if you begin your effort with the peak intensity of each contraction. Make sure that you are comfortable and well supported. The first sign that the baby is coming is the bulging of the perineum and the baby's head crowning. If the medical staff feel that the vagina will not stretch enough to allow the head and the rest of the baby through, an episiotomy or small cut may be made to make the opening bigger. Once the baby's head is visible, only seconds separate it from our world. As it emerges, the head turns, the shoulders become visible, and the rest of the body slithers out. The moment of birth has finally arrived. The third stage of labour starts after the delivery of the baby and ends with the delivery of the placenta. The placenta becomes detached from the uterine wall and slides down the cervical canal. Once the placenta is delivered, medical staff will examine it to make sure that none of it has been left behind.
pethidine, but the epidural I managed to skip.
About 5 o'clock in the morning, I was exhausted, so I demanded an epidural.
And I was going to have natural without any epidural or anything. But after a couple of hours, I just could not cope with it at all, and I asked for an epidural.
However, I did have an epidural with the first one, but it had come out entirely, so they couldn't redo it. It was too late to call the guy back again. So by the time she came out, I felt her come out, which was nice, because although when you're in the throes of labour, you want an epidural, it's also nice to have it naturally. So I could feel and assist in helping push her out, but I wasn't in the most severe pain.
Few labours are totally painless, but the pain associated with labour has been described as pain with a purpose. It can be dealt with by being informed, being calm, and having plenty of moral support. However, many women and doctors feel that childbirth should not become an endurance test, and that pain relief should be the norm rather than the exception.
Narcotics can be used, they are widely used actually, they have but few side effects, and these can be easily reversed. Another form of analgesia is inhalation, nitrous oxide inhalation. I have found it not very popular with my patients. Complete pain relief can be achieved with an epidural anesthesia. Epidurals are usually administered by anesthetists. They require an intravenous infusion, and they limit patients' mobility during labor and for a few hours afterward. Epidural anesthesia has got could have side effects. For example, a drop in the blood pressure, headaches, backache, and fortunately these complications are rare. Having discussed the drawbacks of the epidural briefly, I would like to mention that the epidural analgesia is a very safe form of pain control in labor.